Lesson 8-8, Solving Inequalities by Multiplying or Dividing. The main idea of this lesson is to be able to solve inequalities by using the multiplication or division property of inequality. The first thing that we're going to cover is exactly what does the multiplication and division property of inequality state. First off, it says that when you multiply or divide each side of an inequality by a positive number, the inequality remains true. So if you're multiplying or dividing by a positive number, it's going to remain true. When you multiply or divide each side of an inequality by a negative sign, though, the direction of the inequality symbol must be reversed for the inequality to remain true. So that means that when you are multiplying or dividing with an inequality and the number you're multiplying or dividing by is negative, you have to flip the direction that the inequality sign is going in. If the number that you're multiplying or dividing by isn't negative, it's positive, then you don't have to change the direction. So the most important thing to remember when you're working with inequalities and you're multiplying and dividing is if it's negative, you have to flip the direction of the inequality sign. Let's do a couple examples. Here we have 7y is greater than negative 42. So we're going to ask ourselves the questions. What number is on the same side as the variable? 7. What operation is going on? Multiplication. What's the opposite of that? Division. So what are you going to, so that means that you're going to divide both sides by 7. So I'm going to divide this side by 7, and I'm going to divide this side by 7. The number that I'm dividing by is positive. Just because the 42 is negative doesn't mean that's not the number that I'm dividing both sides by. These two 7s cancel out, so you're left with y. And since the number that you're dividing by is not negative, that means you don't have to change the direction of the inequality sign. We're going to keep it greater than, and negative 42 divided by 7 is negative 6. So don't be confused. Just because 42 is negative here doesn't mean that we're going to change the direction of the inequality sign. The number that you divide or multiply both sides by has to be negative in order to change the direction. Let's try another example. Here we have negative 5d is greater than or equal to 30. So we're going to ask ourselves the questions. What number is on the same side as the variable? Negative 5. What operation is going on with that? Multiplication. What's the opposite of that? Division. So that means that you're going to divide both sides by negative 5. So the number that we're dividing both sides by is negative. So in order to apply the multiplication and division property of inequality, since the number that we're dividing both sides by is negative, that means that we have to change the direction of the inequality sign. These two 5s end up canceling out, and you're left with d. And here you have 30 divided by negative 5 is negative 6. So since the number I was dividing by both sides by was negative, I had to change the direction of the inequality sign. With this example back here, since the number I was dividing by wasn't negative, it was positive, I didn't have to change the direction of the inequality sign. That's all there is to solving inequalities with multiplication and division. You just have to remember when the number you're multiplying or dividing both sides by is negative, you have to swap the direction of the inequality sign.